everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of the WhotKnot podcast. My name is Kathy. I'm a disabled maker after a car accident in 2007, and this is a podcast about all the crafty things that I get up to. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a bird outside my window. It is bucketing down here. It's been bucketing down all week. And to brighten this room up, I've got lights on everywhere. So hopefully it's not creating too much glare or shadow or things of that nature that might be a little bit annoying. But we're working with nature here, aren't we? I've got Buddy on my lap. You going to come up and say hello, buds? Yeah? You don't like the rain, do you? No. When it's raining, somebody doesn't like to go outside to go to the bathroom. Might have been caught short this morning. Luckily, we have tiles throughout our house, so no problem. All right, well, as I said, it's pouring down. We were supposed to get together for our coffee do today, and I will tell you that I'm 2 days late filming this podcast because I actually filmed it 2 days ago. And when I downloaded it, it was all blurry. And I think that was for a combination of reasons. I have had trouble with the battery. Mr. WhotKnot and I were fiddling around, bought new batteries, blah, blah, blah. And I think that we touched one of the settings. So I've gone through and reset. Hopefully I've got everything right this time. So, yeah, hopefully it won't be blurry. I should have known when I was doing the podcast, because when I was holding things up to the camera, I kept thinking, why isn't it focusing? And I kept saying, I'll take a shot of that and put it. I should have twigged at that point, but I kept going. Anyway, I didn't refilm that day because I was very grumpy once I realised that it happened, and did not want to inflict that grumpy mood on you guys. But today, feeling much better. I had my COVID booster shot yesterday afternoon and I feel fine. My arm doesn't even hurt. Mr. WhotKnot said his arm hurts a little bit, but other than that, no problem. So, yep, we're all good here. The only other news I've gotten, it's a little bit of bad news, and I'll only mention it because I know Mum will watch the podcast. Hi, Mum. And my brother is currently staying with Mum, I believe, because he had a serious workplace accident about a week ago. He was standing behind a machine that is designed to sandblast paint off metal, and it was broken, and he was attempting to help the boss fix it, leaning in, looking, trying to fix it, and it backfired into his face. And as a result of that, he's lost his vision in both eyes, which we are hoping is only temporary. He's having to go into Brisbane almost daily to the eye specialist, and they're removing as much stuff out of his eyes as they can. But a little bit of a stressful situation, not just for Bob, but for Mum, because Bob, my brother, is Mum's carer, and he does a lot for her in terms of, helping her cook meals, odd jobs around the house. He takes her for drives and they go for coffee. If Mum goes away, Bob goes with her and things like that. So, it's a little bit concerning. So I am sending him all the positive energy that I can. And if you guys have got any spare, I'd appreciate it if you could shoot some in his direction as well. So that's the news. I want to say thank you to everybody that commented on the last podcast. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I know I'm hopeless these days with the podcast, but I hope the content is still there for you. But the number of people that commented about the time schedule that I have, and FYI, I've got my little stopwatch set up here. There seem to be 3 groups of people, and there was one group that were very happy that the podcast was shorter, and I completely understand that. There was another group that were a little bit upset that the podcast had been cut short, and there was a group in the middle that were happy no matter what I dished up, so that was nice. So what I thought moving forward is I am going to continue to try and keep the podcast to about the 40 minutes, but in a couple of weeks, Susan will probably be coming on because we will be announcing our advents for this year with all the details that go with that. So if you were one of the people that were pretty upset that you missed out on the advent last year, we will be doing a few extras this year to help make sure everybody gets one, but we will announce it all. It is completely the polar opposite of the sweet shop owner advent that we did this year, so there will be absolutely no comparison to it, apart from the fact that Susan and I will diligently be working on handmade items and locally sourced items to go in the deluxe boxes. So, yep, something completely different. So, yep, so there's that. We will talk about that a bit more. Anyway, I think that's enough jibber jabber that I've gone on with, and I can't tell you what I'm wearing. This is a Miller's special. Miller's is what my daughter would classify as the old lady shop in Australia, but I think their stuff's nice and it fits nice. So, yep, this is a Miller's, but as you can see in the back, and this is the first finished item that I'll talk about, I did use that stretch material that I showed you guys on the last podcast, and I was going to make a nightie, but I didn't make a nightie. I used the top half t-shirt pattern in the pattern that I showed you last episode, and I just made a basic rectangle skirt, gathered it and sewed it on the bottom, and it's really comfy and really nice. The t-shirt fits really well. I did have to do what I always have to do once I'd made it. I'd made it too big, and I've run it in the sides. I have been watching quite a few sewing podcasts, and I think the mistake that I'm making is that when we're measuring for our jumpers, knitwear and clothing of anything like that, we measure across the fullest part of the bust. But this lady, who seemed to be quite an experienced sewer, was saying that in sewing patterns, the measurement is taken across the top chest area of the bust line. So on the next garment that I make, and it kind of makes sense really, I suppose, I am going to take this measurement and make it. If it's too small, I know I can give it away to somebody and they'll probably be quite happy with it, but it might be a better fit for me, I think. So, yep. So there's that. The dress in the back, the fabric in the bottom was 3 meters that I bought at Spotlight on sale, and I've actually still got enough left to make maybe a sleeveless, like just an easy summer dress. So there's enough there for that. But I did make myself a headband, and I thought I'll show you the headband so you can see up close what the material looks like. It's a really pretty, as you can see, black background with lemon and red flowers on it. And I find that those reddish colours suit me quite well, and I quite like wearing black with a pop of interest like that. So, yep, I made myself a few of these headbands, and I followed a YouTube tutorial, so I will link that below. I must have a bit of a bigger melon than the lady that was doing the tutorial had, because I had to lengthen the strap that goes around the back for it to feel comfortable on my head, not too tight, because you know, when you're making, if you've got a headband or anything on that's too tight, you start to get a bit of a headache. So yeah, so I've made myself a few of these with some of the scraps, because I'm all about a good old headband. So there's that little number. Now, the big news is I finished my Bloom jumper. Let me get my shades, so my specs I should say. So the Bloom jumper is a jumper by Janice Hope. I hope I'm saying Janice Hope. And this is it complete. And I really like it. It fits really nicely. As you can see, that lace work has really opened up beautifully. I'll hold it up a bit closer. single version there so you can see through it. So the lace work's really, really pretty. It is a bottom up. That was the only thing I wasn't too keen on, and I did play Yarn Chicken and I lost big time. I think I saw one of the other ladies had said that she put hers on a provisional cast on, knit the yoke, and then joined it up and knit the body. So if I ever see another bottom up jumper that I quite like to knit, that's what I'm going to do. But I got to about 10 to 12 rows of finishing the neck, ran out of yarn. So made a lot more work for myself, but I had to unpick, and unpicking a cuff from a cast on knit up, and then you've got to pull it out and knit down, that was a bit, like, it took me a while to get that all untangled. So I had to take about 2 inches off each of the sleeves, re-knit down the cuff and just bind that off again, and then I had just enough yarn to finish knitting this, and a tiny little bit left over, which I can get that ready. I used as a swatch in my knitting journal. So that little swatch, where are we? There we are. That little swatch, that was pretty much all I had left. And although it was annoying to play Yarn Chicken, it's extremely satisfying to use up every last bit of yarn. Now, a little couple more things about the pattern. Because I was playing Yarn Chicken, it is supposed to have like little nodules on the lace work. I'm not too successful with nodules. I'm never 100% happy with how they look. And I noticed that somebody else on Ravelry, on theirs, had used beads instead. So I don't know if they're going to catch, but in place of where the nodules go, I placed beads. And it's the first time I've ever done that. I've ever used beads in knitting. And I mean, it's kind of hard to see, but I think they look really beautiful and add an extra element to the jumper. So the only other thing I've got to say about it is I did do an I-cord bind off for the neck, not the pattern recommended neck line, and I did do it. This jumper is designed to fit with negative ease, and I'm not about that. So I made sure I knit a size that gave me about 2.5 to 3, maybe even 4 inches positive ease. And they give you a couple of options on the body. You can do a shaped body or an A-line or a trapeze style body. They give you a couple of options on the sleeves where you can do puffy sleeves, narrow sleeves. So it's like a pick your own journey. So yeah, I recommend that. And the only other thing I'll tell you about is the yarn. I mean, I love this yarn, and I have quite a bit of it now. In fact, I had something else out on the podcast that I was going to show you. I might grab that in a little minute. I haven't grabbed it. I had to get all my stuff back together. This is a merino single. So it's 100% wool superwash. And I don't know what the name is, but I'll show it to you. But it's hippie fibres. And as I said, I've got quite a bit of her yarn. I love her dyeing style. Look at that little cute little squirrel or cat, I'm not sure, on there. But that's the name of it on the back there. But if you really liked this yarn, you could contact her. She's on Etsy. I'll link her in the show notes and ask her to dye you up some of that. Yeah, so it's got beautiful colours in it. I'll just show you a close-up of the sleeve. And then I better get moving on to the next thing. You can see all the colours. I did not helical knit the sleeves. I did not helical knit the yoke, but I did helical knit the body. So there's that. Yep, and that's my bloom sweater. which I won't be wearing anytime soon because even though it is pouring down, it is stinking hot here. So, yeah, there's that. I'll just quickly grab that other yarn I was going to show you. I've got this yarn from Hippie Fibres. Also, so beautiful, this one. And this year, I think I'm going to knit quite a few cardigans. I love a good old cardi, and I don't seem to wear the jumpers as much. I've given away that many that I've knit. It's not even funny, but I think I would wear the cardigans. So I've got the matching mohair in that. And I thought, let me just put them together for you. I thought I might knit myself an Elton, Hokey Locatelli's Elton with those two combined. I think that they would look nice. So that's not going to happen in the next 5 minutes, but it will happen at some point. So, yeah. So I'll just show you some of the other things on my knitting journal while I've got that here. So, yeah, that was the page that I'd created. I've made a little pocket there. I've got all the info in there. I used my new little camera. Still haven't quite got the camera photo exposure and stuff correct, but that's all part of the fun playing around with that. So I've taken a few photos of that, and I've got that stuck in there. In my pocket, I've got this little card which has got all my modifications that I made to the jumper on it. So all the goodly goodness in that pocket. And I'm really enjoying creating my knitting journal, although I think it's going to be a little while before I do another one because, yeah, I haven't got anything even close to being finished at this point. But that's my knitting journal. And that's done. So speaking of journals, I've made 2 other journals since I last podcast. And one of them I put a reel on Instagram, and this was a little box that my husband got a battery in. Actually, the battery for my camera. So I thought, that's a nice little box. I didn't want to throw it away. So I've made this little journal. I've used watercolour paper in it so that I can paint in it if I want to. I might not. I might give it away as a present. I don't know. I just like making these things. But, yeah, I'll just show you a couple of pages. When I cut the pages, I had some strips left over. So I made some little bookmarks in there, some tiny little bookmarks. And I've got some pictures that I've cut out of my books and things like that. I've found a few poems on Google, and I've written a few poems in there. Whoops. And I've cut out some bits of lace and stuck them in there, and made a few little tags, put them in there. But as I said, this is all watercolour paper, so I can paint on that if I want to. And I thought the paper looked a bit stark, so when I'd finished making it, I held it like that, and I've got a little sprayer that I've got water and coffee mixture in, and I just gave it a good old spray and then let it dry. You can kind of see it. Hopefully it won't blow out, but on this page you can see the edge of it just picks up the spray and gives it a vintage kind of feel. So, yep. Had fun pottering around with that. And then my sister sent me the link to a blog post of a lady that alters books. And this was more of an in accordion style. And I thought, yeah, I'll give that a go. And I had this book, and it was a little red book. It wasn't a very nice book. It was about Hitler, so I didn't have any problems pulling it apart and creating this. So if you're watching this, Tess, I've made this for you. And I've put a few little personal details on it to my sister because she, like, her name is Tess, so I put a little T. Her birthday's on the 14th of August, so I've 14th, of August, so I've put that there. Yeah, and she loves a cup of tea, so I've put a little thing there that says, "A little pot is soon hot." and she's a little pot. I had to laugh at this little sticker. I don't know if you can see that. That little sticker of that little girl reading there. And I'll tell you what it says. It says, "Fair little Fanny wrote a letter to her granny," which I thought was immaturely, I thought that was funny. So I thought Tessie would think that was funny. So I've put some danglies on there, little cup and pot and cup, a pot and a cup. And when you open it up, it took a little while to construct it. Instead of opening it like a book, it opens and it's like an accordion. And I've made all little bits and pieces in there that she might like to journal on, and I hope she does use it as a journal. Stuck all my bits and pieces in there. For example, some of the things that I've made, I used some of the book pages, and I've made like a little bookmark tab with a bit of sewing and things like that on it. I had some leftover card that I'd been watercolour painting, so I put a little leaf and some crochet on that and cut it into a card shape and put a little stamp on the back of that, and all sorts of things. Like that one, that's got the cup and saucer and cake, because who doesn't like cake with their cup of tea? And she can slide a photo into the front of that. But it's got all sorts of goodies in it, and I made that. So if you're interested in altering books and you'd like to have a go at that, I will link the blog post on the instructions on how to create that in the show notes. All right, let's have a quick look at some whips. Now I've got three whips. I've actually got more than 3 whips. I've got about 4, but I think I've bought 3 to show you. So I'm making Mill a jumper. She bought the coloured wool for this, and I said I would knit it for her. And this is the, where are we? Mill, the Once Again. And I'll put the links to it in the show notes, of course. But I've done all the yoke. Let me hold this up so you can get a good eyeball on it. Look at the colour in that. Boom, chicka-boom. The neckline seems large, but it's not too bad. I prefer it snugged in a bit, but Mill likes a larger neckline, so she specifically asked me to make sure the neckline wasn't too tight. So I think this will fit quite well for her. It is a bit bunched up on the needles, so it's hard to get a really good look at it. No, that doesn't work either. But it was easy knitting, but a bit fiddly to do all that. Took me a while, but now I'm on the straight knitting, and I'll get through it. I do think on this orange section, I have held my floats just a tiny little bit too tight. I am hoping once I wash and block it that that gives it the little bit of give that it's going to need. But having said that, these sections are done with a reverse stockinette stitch. So they're kind of puffy anyway, so I feel like I'm getting away with it. And when I looked at other people's projects, a few other people have had the same problem. So it didn't look too bad at all, and I don't think Mill's going to care either way. So I'm working on that. This afternoon I do have to skein up. So I've just about run out of wool, so I've got to ball up some more wool. And the wool that I'm using for the grey section is Bloomsbury DK by the Yarn Collective. And look at, I don't know if you can see, but this is the same dye lot. This one is much darker than this one, so I'll definitely be helical knitting on the body, but I'll be balling them up this afternoon. I've got another 2 skeins, so I had 5 skeins altogether, so I'm hoping that's going to be enough. Mill, this jumper is supposed to be full length, but Mill likes it cropped, so I'll be cropping this guy to Mill's specifications. And the coloured yarn, I haven't got my card with me, but I will put her name on the screen. But I talked about it quite a bit on the last podcast. But that was all the yarn that I had left over. Tiny little ball of it. So that's done. So that's one of my whips, and I'll be doing a bit more of that soon. The whip that I have been really enjoying is in a new bag that I've made. I'll show that to you in a minute, but I should have shown that to you in finished objects, but that's all right. So this is called the Jack Rose, and this is by Thea Coleman, and it's a cardigan because, as I said, I'm about the cardies this year, and this was some yarn that I had in my stash. Colour is showing up pretty accurately. It's fully lace knit. It's an easy lace, although because I'm watching the tally, I'm struggling to remember it, so having to keep the pattern open in front of me. That colour looks a tiny bit more tomato red than it is in real life. It's more like a coral pink, I think, than what it's showing up there. But yeah. So it's all the front panels and the back are all knit in one piece, and they're differentiated by a knitting panel, which you do your increases and decreases. This jumper is designed to be quite long. I'm just going to have it as a normal length cardigan, and it's got a beautiful collar on it. I'll put a picture of the finished, the Ravelry picture up here so you can see. But you might think to yourself, that band looks very, very wide, and yes, it does. This pattern is designed where you fold the hem up and have it double thickness to give it a nice rolled edge. And initially, I wasn't going to do that because I was being a bit lazy. Didn't want to knit and purl all that. But in the end, I thought to myself, I've never done that before. I'm going to give it a go. So I don't know whether it'll make the cardigan look a bit bottom heavy or not, or if it'll give it a nice finish. Either way, I'm doing it, and the pattern is 11-row pattern repeat, and I've done 2 repeats of it. So I've still got a fair way to go on that, but I'm really enjoying the yarn. And the yarn that I'm using here is, I've buried my specs. Here they are. They're on their last legs. This arm's about to fall off. Is Willow and Lark Poetry. And this is really, really nice yarn. It feels really nice to knit with. It's nice and soft and squishy. It's got a nice little twist to it. I don't know if you can see that little twist to it. And it is made up of, let me see. All right, here we go. It's made up of 60% wool, 10% camel hair, and 30% acrylic microfiber. And this colour that I'm knitting it up in is called Rhubarb Pink, and I bought it ages ago. I think I showed it to you guys when I bought it off Lovecraft last year. So, yep, really liking that. And I'll show you my bag that I'm keeping it in because I made this the other day, and I used my eyelet tool, so I put eyelets in it. So this is the bag. It's a square bottom bag. If anybody knows, I used the plastic mesh that you can buy for these bags to see how I liked it, and I don't like it. It's too sloppy. When the bag's closed, I'll show you what I mean. I'll just close it up. And I'm holding it like that, and it's got stuff in it. See how the bottom of it bows? I would like that to be straight. And the only way around it is to put in a piece of timber or heavy cardboard. But once you've done that, you can't really wash the bag. So if anybody knows of a better material that I could use for the base of the bags, I would be very interested to know that, because may or may not be using that in the bags for the Headband boxes. So I am on the hunt for something there. And as I said, I put my eyelets in it, and I've got my little ball there on the front of yarn. So yeah, it's a good size inside. I will say that. It's probably slightly bigger than in my mind it was going to be, as it always is. I always make things too big, but I think I did a 9-inch by 9-inch base, and I think I would try for a 6-inch because it is pretty big inside. Yeah. So that's looking after my Jack Rose for me, and I've been carting that around for the last few days. So that's that one. And another knit one, and I cast this on in December, and I've had a bit of a hell of a time with this thing because I had 2 balls of yarn that I sort of earmarked to do a shawl with, and I started knitting this up in those 2 balls of yarn. Got to probably about halfway through the lace section, and I didn't like how they looked together, so I unpicked it. And then I recast it on, and I made a big mistake with the edges, and it was all pulling too tight, so I had to rip it back again, cast it back on again, and then I got the colours in the wrong order. And each time I knit right up part of the lace section, and so I had to rip it back again. But we're on track now. I started to wonder whether I should knit something else, but I thought, no, I'm going to stick with it. I think this will look really nice once it's blocked. I mean, the picture, that lace work's really pretty. It's very easy knitting. There's only 2 or 3 sections of the lace, and the rest of it is basic stockinette, garter, and you've got a dropped loop section. There's a few of those throughout. And, yeah, I'm using up stash yarn. So this is some pink that I dyed up ages ago that I had left over. I dyed up about 8 skeins of this. A lady asked me to dye it up, and then I never heard from her again, so I had a few skeins of it. But that's all right because I quite liked it. And the contrast colour that I'm using is a Regia, and it's actually a sock yarn. And it's really nice. It's got nice blues and pinks. I think it would look nice with denim, if denim's still a thing. Yeah, and this is, I don't think they have colours, but the colour number for it is 02844. And I think I got that off Lovecraft ages ago, and I've got 2 skeins of that, so I'll be all good to get this shawl done. So, yep, I'm working on that guy. So that's another whip. I haven't done anything on that for a little while, so I might do something on that this weekend. Let me just have a quick little check of my notes so I don't get lost here. The skill, okay. The other thing that I've got on my needles, which I haven't bought to show you, is my design that I've been working on. Haven't been working on it at all. That's a complete lie. It's been tucked in its bag for ages now. But I do plan to get that out at some point and give that another piece of my mind. So there's that. But as you guys know, I told you on the last podcast I'd signed up for Skillshare. So I have been enjoying the Skillshare, and I've done a few bits and pieces. So I've got my little watercolour book that I like to do a few of them in here, and I've got 2 in here to show you. So I did show you one last week, and the same lady that did the class last week, she also did this class. So I did that, and as you can see, it's quite detailed up close, and the way these are all created is with washi tape, and then you run the wash over the top. So that was a really fun class. I think that's good because it's in any level. You could do that at any level, and I don't think it's for specifically people who know what they're doing with watercolour. And then the other day I did this class with another lady, different lady, and this is the negative painting. So she's got a technique that she shows you how to do where you draw the pictures, paint behind them, and the pictures pop out. So I enjoyed both of those classes. And then I did a class on a lady, and she was doing a full layout of how you would do a full layout in a sketchbook for things that you're interested in. She was interested in architecture and things like that. I don't get out and see that much architecture. So I decided to do it and apply it to my own circumstances. And I had a paint palette there that I hadn't used very much because I wasn't quite sure. Oh, forgot to get it out again. Here we go. So professional. And it is the Art Gaff palette. And these are not actually watercolours. They're made by a company that actually make pencils. So they have a similar sort of consistency of a watercolour pencil. And they're actually called Taylor's Chalk. And if I hadn't put it away while it was still wet, probably be able to get it out. All right. So this is what it looks like. And my only complaint with this is there's no blue in it or green. I mean, a blue would be good because you could mix it with the yellow and make your own green and things like that. But they sell these individually as well. And when I went and had a look individually, they still don't sell a blue or a green individually. But you can actually take them out. So if I can do this without causing chaos. You can take them out and they're literally like a piece of chalk. And you can draw with them to create pictures and then add water or use them as I did as watercolours. So wet my brush and tap it on. And, yeah, it was really interesting. So I thought I'm going to create a page using those because I hadn't really tested them out very much. So this is the sort of thing that she shows you how to do. So you basically detail your colour palette and then you do some samples of what sort of things. And preferably it's all relatable, like that little squirrel might live in that forest, that leaf might have fallen off that tree, those mushrooms might be growing under the tree. Like you need to have like not so much a theme but a relationship between for it to be cohesive. So in this one I layered the paints and put salt on them. So I'll give you a close look at these guys, although you know my camera never picks the painting up in the detail that I would like. My leaf. So yeah, that was fun. And then because I filmed the podcast and then there was 2 days in between, I did another one. So you get the bonus. You didn't get this on the podcast when I filmed it the other day because I hadn't done it. But I did do this one yesterday. And this was also a Skillshare class. And this was using mixed media. So creating vintage looking paper, and you use stamps and things like that to make it look authentic. So I'll put a picture of that on my Instagram anyway, and you can get a closer look at that. But yeah, so been really enjoying those Skillshare classes and getting lots of good ideas. So let's see how we're going. I've got 5 minutes. So a few of you are a bit upset we didn't get to the For Me From Me, so let's whiz through a bit of For Me From Me. So For Me From Me, I got this from Mill for my birthday. It was a bit late coming because the post in Australia is the worst. So it's to make your own llama. And I'll probably make this in the next couple of weeks and I'll be able to show you the finished item. I don't know where she got it from, but it's got all the things in it that you need to make your own little llama. And I love it. I love this. It says, be a creative, there it is, be a creative star. Okay, I will. And I'll make that. So thanks, Mill. I love that. Mill spoiled me for my birthday, as usual. I got lots of little bits and pieces. Actually, where's my other little piece that I had to show you? She sent me this, so beautiful, made by these people. I actually saw this on Instagram and I sent it to her and said, look at this, it's amazing. And this lady creates this, it's a resin, and she paints it in layers to give it a 3D look. So look, it comes in this little box, little walnut, sitting in his little bed there. And when you open it up, I hope the camera can catch the detail on it. It's got a little fish swimming in water. So the resin looks like water, and then on the other side it's got the little flowers. So pretty. Thanks, Mel. A special little thing to have. So, yeah, I love that. Comes with a little polishing cloth so you can polish the resin and keep it all nice. So it was beautifully packaged as well. It makes a nice little gift. So thank you. And I bought myself a new, not so exciting, a new glue gun. But the thing about this glue gun is it's cordless. I don't know about you guys. I get myself into a bit of a chaos situation with the cord, battling it, trying to get it to stand up and everything. And Spotlight had another sale. And so I bought this. I haven't used it yet, so I can't report back on how well it holds its heat. But the thing I liked is it's got that nice little stand, and I can pop it on the stand and it stays hot for 5 minutes. But you know yourself, if you're gluing something, you just glue. You're not gluing it for 5 minutes. You just do a quick dab of glue and then you put it down again. So, yeah, I haven't used it yet. I bought some glue sticks to go with it as well. And I'll be giving that a go at some point when I have a project that requires it. I bought myself some books. So I got a masterclass in the copper plate writing. And I have to tell you guys, I'm struggling with the copper plate writing. I'm still having a go. I'm still practicing each day. And, yeah, I'm finding it really hard to get the swirls like nice and soft without them being a bit jagged and things like that. But I am continuing the copper plate journey, so I got that guy. And I bought this. I thought it was going to be something else, but when I got it, I was still really happy with it. And this book has lots of little things in it that you can use to embellish your scrapbooking or journaling pages. I actually used quite a bit of it on my those watercolour pages I just showed you. Like I picked out some of these autumn leaves and drew them around the edges. They've got a little bit of script work and borders and all sorts of things. So I'm really liking that book that I purchased. Sorry about the glare. And the last book that I purchased just for a little read when I'm having a cuppa, and because I like the look of it, is this Textile Traveller's book. And I have to say, the feeling on this book alone, it's the cover is fabric and it feels like velvet or something. It's so tactile and nice. But it's just got like lots of interesting little bits of information. To be honest, I haven't read anything in it yet, so I can't give too many details on it. But it's got lots of nice little pictures, and look at that. Looks delightful with all those colours and everything there. So, yeah, gonna have a look at that at some point this week and see what's what. And the last thing I've got to show you, which is with regard to the calligraphy, is or the copper plate writing, is if anybody else was interested but they don't want to invest in one of those pens, and I completely understand, I saw somebody doing a review on this pen, whoops, glare, which is the Lame pen. It's supposed to be very good for copper plate writing, and it's under $20. As you can see, it's still in packet. I haven't tried it yet, but I'll give that a go and let you know. So I think I paid under $20 delivered for this, and I think that that's a good price if you want to have a go yourself. So I thought I'll get that and see what we think. Just perusing. I think we're done. Okay, I've gone 6 minutes over, but by the time I cut a few of those things out, we'll be right. A few of the stretching, leaning, picking things up business will be good. So it's a miserable day. I'm going to go up and watch a movie with Mr. WhotKnot because he hasn't even gone to work today because it's so miserable outside. We are going to have some lunch now, which I'm looking forward to. I think we'll be on for the soup. And, yeah, so that's about it. I hope you guys, Ralph, digging to China. Ralph, poor Ralphie, he's as deaf as a post these days. I hope you guys are safe and well. I hope you're getting lots of crafting done, and I will look forward to seeing you guys soon. And don't forget to send my brother some special wishes for his vision to come back. So there's that. But I'll keep you posted on that and let you know how he's going. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks.